Within Kingdom Hearts Recoded, Data, Namine, and Sora, accompanied by Mickey, discussed these abnormal memories real Namine had found within Sora during her year of placing Sora's memories back together after the events of Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. In this scene, Namine says that Data Sora will feel the hurt and sadness of those these memories belong to as they experienced them in the past. By enduring this pain, Data Sora unlocks the hidden truth for them of who these memories belong to and helps Namine establish the connection of their trauma and why these memories are connected to Sora. By the end of this experience, Data Namine tells Mickey and Data Sora that eventually real Sora will have to face these memories and feelings as well. But unlike with Data Sora, who was primed by Data Roxas and Riku on accepting hurt and moving on, she's unsure if the time will ever come for real Sora to face these hidden truths. Distance, young Xehanort and Xigbar formulate a plan that will lead them to claiming Sora as the 13th vessel of the newly assembled 13 Seekers. This plan involves preying upon Sora's altered state of conscience in the realm of sleep to induce a second state of sleep that will throw his heart headlong into a collision course with all of these things that Data Namine shows to Data, Sora, and Mickey back in Kingdom Hearts Recoded. These memories and connections, and thus the darkness they are shrouded in, consumes and damages Sora's heart, rendering it much like the worlds we traverse through within the game, broken and damaged, resulting in Sora being left in a perpetual state of sleep, much like and yet unlike Ventus. Seekers about the power of awakening, his utilization of the power, his recklessness, and finally his fate to disappear from this side of reality, utilizing this power to save his friends and rewriting the destinies that they had all befell, as foretold within the Book of Prophecies. With the help of Kairi tethering him to life, creating a new timeline, Sora effectively condemns himself to the aforementioned fate of disappearing. However, in Remind, we will see even more context and learn even more about why exactly Sora disappears at the end. Well, I'm here to tell you it is not solely or even at all anything to do with the power of awakening that Sora disappears. Rather, Sora disappears due to his time traversing the hearts of the 7 Guardians, finally breaking his heart after everything that he had experienced, sending him to unreality, much like what had happened to him in Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance, and as Namine foretold, he may not ever be capable of dealing with the hidden truths within his heart. So let's talk more in depth about all of these subjects, because if we go from Recoded when Data Namine tells Sora and Mickey, or Data Sora and Mickey perhaps, that Sora, the real Sora, may not ever be capable of facing these memories. This was the point of her putting it into Data, and this is why Kingdom Hearts Recoded is an actual important game, because it establishes, and this is a tangent of course, but it establishes that there are certain things about Sora's abilities and powers and how he's connected to people that do have a damaging side effect. This is why this game comes, or had to have been put out as Recoded before Dream Drop Distance could be released. I'm just saying. But Kingdom Hearts Recoded, when she tells him that at the end, of course, we later wind up seeing within Dream Drop Distance exactly what these memories can do to our boy. But when it comes to Kingdom Hearts 3 and its ending with Sora disappearing, it is not because of the power of awakening or any type of nature taboo that Sora disappears. One must consider that during the events of Kingdom Hearts 3, before Remind was even added, Sora gives up entirely almost 3 different times. He gives up when all of his friends disappears, he gives up when Kairi is destroyed, and then he also gives up when Master Xehanort gains control over the true Kingdom Hearts. So that's 3 different times that Sora winds up completely giving into despair. This will already put his heart at a point in which his heart is already weakened, his will is already weakened, and this is why, although he should have been strong enough to fight Master Xehanort himself, he does still require the help of Donald and Goofy by the end when Master Xehanort shoots the Keyblade key beam at him, and Sora must use their powers as foretold by Tetsuya Nomura. He must use their powers to reconnect and rewrite that event of him being destroyed, and that's why he winds up coming back, even though we literally see him get destroyed by the key beam of the X-Blade. his heart is weakened, so of course he has a harder time tethering himself to reality, which is why he has to wind up using the hearts of Donald and Goofy to pull himself back. But as of course we move into Kingdom Hearts Remind, which will come out a year later, or almost a year later, we see even more depth as to why Sora disappears, because as Sora spends time using the power of awakening, jumping from heart to heart, as foretold by Chirithy, each experience that these other characters have and that they feel, Sora will feel them as well. And we know just off the strength of the BBS trio, or the Wayfinder trio, that when Sora got in contact with Ventus's heart, he was shrouded in darkness and pulled into a different reality to fight the Dark Inferno. So he already gets pulled into a shroud of darkness, and this is the first heart that he winds up connected to. When he connects to Aqua, Aqua feels this feeling of doubt and fear. She has these deep emotional scars from the realm of darkness and her time within it. And of course, this pain is so great that Sora winds up dropping to one knee. That's how bad those feelings are. And then he also goes into her heart and then deals with that phantom, which is of course the Dark Aqua that we faced in Kingdom Hearts 3's original story. This would have been a perfect opportunity to reuse the Mirror Aqua from 0.2. Honestly, I don't know why they didn't go with that one, since that one was more so a better reflection, I think, than the Aqua herself in the Realm of Darkness. But I guess it kind of makes sense though, because they probably was dealing with Kingdom Hearts 3, and 0.2 had came out, what, 2 years prior to Kingdom Hearts 3? It was 2017, right? So, and then of course, when he connects to Terra, although he doesn't truly connect to his heart, he gets close enough to his heart though that he was capable of coming out and stopping Terranort from destroying the Lingering Will. And we know from Namine that Terra's essence is completely dark. It's completely filled with lament. She even says that even with her powers, and her powers are the powers that wound up showing him that yes, Terranort had reappeared within the Keyblade Graveyard, even with her powers, she couldn't reach him. And Namine has been capable of doing these things for years now. So by now it's been like 2-3 years that Namine has known about the power to call on other hearts, and she isn't even capable of doing it. That's how far Terra's heart is within the darkness, and the effect that it has on the Lingering Will is that it's filled with hatred, a deep sense of self-hatred, regret, and lament. So he even connects to the Lingering Will, or Terra's heart, to find his way to the Lingering Will and assist, so that way it doesn't get destroyed, stating that regardless of what happens to either one of them, Terranort or the Lingering Will, it's bad for Terra himself, which is true. And then when he jumps into Mickey is hurt by, of course, he jumps into Riku first. Let me do Riku first. When he goes to Riku, he pretty much just essentially travels with Riku. Riku is, of course, already had his prime time with Dream Drop Distance, getting over the self-doubt that he had prior, which was leading him to being stuck with this phantom of Ansem, the Seeker of Darkness. He had already overcame that, so he wasn't as affected, but of course, he does still feel the pain of these characters. So with these characters getting into this long, extensive fight within the sky with Xehanort's phantoms, obviously Sora feels that too, and it also goes hand in hand with every other character that Sora winds up spending time with. When he reaches the point that he shares with Roxas, or he actually comes back to his own heart and sets Roxas free, we know that Sora has to see he sees the memories of 358 Days Over 2. And remember, this is specifically some of the memories that Data Namine says can actually break Sora. So he sees these memories, and the memories start to return. They pass by him, and even Roxas gets in contact with this other Sora that's now within his station of awakening and speaking to him, and he's getting in contact with him and leading him. And when he returns to his own heart, once again, Sora feels the pain. Like, you see a scene to where the screen turns this bluish yellowish, that's kind of supposed to indicate like a level of pain. And some people are probably gonna say, oh well, that was just them showing that he had returned to Sora, and that Sora got the memories of what Roxas and Sora was talking about. No, because if you look at how he traverses through the hearts, none of the other characters has this experience. He even jumped into himself, and he doesn't have this experience. The first heart he jumps within is himself, and he doesn't have this experience. So this experience is indicative of all of the turmoil and all of the pain that Sora had already faced leading up to this point, because he's essentially using his own heart and his own essence to jump into the hearts of others. This is why, to do this, it required him going back to the final world first, because he had to eliminate kind of his body and become exactly like he was when he went to the final world the first time, to be capable of going back in time again. This is why he goes to the final world. So obviously Sora is already being struck down essentially by everything that's going on. So the last heart I think he connects to is King Mickey's, and that's where we were. The last heart he connects to is King Mickey's, and when he connects to King Mickey's, he finally reveals himself, and he kind of becomes tangible, versus instead of being that little heart-like version of himself that's been jumping around, he becomes tangible now. And when he becomes tangible, of course, he saves Mickey, who had just gotten essentially manhandled by the 12 Phantoms of Xehanort. And then obviously Sora saves him, goes into the keyhole, stops the keyhole, and then he goes into Scarlet Asylum, meaning he more than likely had already connected to Kyrie's heart at that point, because this is the point when he starts to find pieces of her heart. Remember, Charity said that he will have to go in the line of all of their hearts until the connection finally links him to Kyrie. So essentially going through everybody else's hearts gives him a stronger connection to the broken or shattered or even completely obliterated version of Kyrie's heart, which connects him to Scarlet Asylum after he hitches a ride with the other Sora. So he's finally at the point to where his heart, which has to return to himself first, because notice he does return to himself after each different exchange of the hearts that he jumps between. He does have to go to himself each time. So when he goes back to himself this time, finally the connection leads him to the line that Kyrie is connected to. And when he gets there, he saves Kyrie, but even this comes with its setbacks, because he has the battle against the Heartless, which is canon because there's portions of the gameplay where Sora actually does give little story tidbits like, hey, this one is pink. So it gives you an indication of, yes, something did kind of tell Sora essentially in the story why, you know, he needs to destroy that specific Heartless that you see, or he needs to destroy the giant dark side that you see, or that he needs to find out these puzzles within Scarlet Asylum and all of this. And even Xehanort says when he sees him that he's the one that set up, you know, this whole little Ponzi game, or this little game that Sora is effectively playing. You know, he's taking a test from Master Xehanort to see if he can utilize his powers, like I said in the last video. So with that, obviously Sora starts to run around Scarlet Asylum, he connects the pieces, and then he comes back out. And when he goes to the final world with Kyrie, we see that after all of the damage that had been done, he's starting to fade away. And when he fades away, because of this, his heart will be so weak, and this is why he doesn't have the power of awakening. His heart will be so weak that it cannot use the power of awakening again. In fact, it can't even self-sustain to remain in reality. So it slips through the cracks of reality and forms or recoalesces within unreality. And that's why Sora disappears at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3. So thank you guys for tuning into this video. I hope it was informative. There's a few bits of conjecture, but the overall point I think is 100% fact. It's not because of the power of awakening, because we see Riku about to do the exact same thing that Sora did. If Sora's heart is so damaged and so broken that he winds up in unreality, how is that not the same thing as Sora redoing time itself to reach his friends who had fell into the darkest abyss? So, I mean, why would they allow Riku to do the exact same thing if they know that what they've been searching for a year for Sora, who just used the power of awakening? So I don't think it's solely the power of awakening that causes this. I don't think this is a side effect of the power, but rather this is what can happen to your heart if you use the power in this way. So let me know what you guys think, and remember, and think about it like this: instead of through his dreams he gets connected to Sora, and now he's on his way to Quadratum by connecting to those connections, like how Sora does within Kingdom Hearts 3, Instead, he's using the very safe portal from the star within the final world, the girl that knows Yuzora. He's using a very safe way to get to Quadratum, so it's not going to be as dangerous because the line of connections that he has to go through is simply the one that he has with the woman from Quadratum, which will lead him to Quadratum to reach Sora. So you see what I'm saying, right? But this has been your boy Mazia. Don't forget to do a little A-class gaming, and everything you do, don't forget to keep it A-class. Be kind to yourself and be kind to others. And don't forget, if you screw up, there's always tomorrow. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace the heck